what we did for August 10th and August 11th. We basically worked on the same assignment, and I did a presentation. Okay, so the warm up, you guys could see that the warm up's there on our Google Classroom. It is right here. It should be under week 2. Let's say 8:11 and 8:12. Fortunately, they weren't working, so that's fine. If you're not able to do that. 8:12, you're not able to do that either. That is okay. Now, I went over past assignments. By then, you should have done all the assignments under week 1, which is the history journal for March, the letter to the teacher, the back to school survey, and the Ed Puzzle Google Classroom. Okay. So I just went over specifically that you guys you should not be late on those. So if you're still missing those, go ahead and do those, okay? Make sure you do them as soon as you can. Then I explain what is history, okay? Basically, I explained the assignment, and it is right here. This is a PowerPoint, actually. Remember, this sign right here means material, so that's not the assignment. The assignment will be, where are you? Oh, sorry, it's under here. So view more. What is history for you? There we go. So just pay attention that I already included the YouTube video here, okay? So, what is history to you? I already know that most of you guys believe that history is boring or pointless, but I'm going to try to make it my best that you guys, it is entertaining for you guys, okay? My job is to teach you why it is important to you and our society, and again, to make it entertaining and for basically for you guys to enjoy history, right? So this was the assignment. Answer the following questions, complete sentences. There are no right or wrong answers for your opinions, and that are specifically for 1 and 3, okay? I will go over a short presentation to answer questions 4 and 5, and that will be right here. You can look at the presentation and also the video link, which is already here present, and you can just click on it. Now, other than that, that's all we did. We basically did that for both days. If you want to hear me go over the presentation, I'll do that real quick. So we skipped the first 2 slides. We're not in the classroom. So right here it says, why is history? Well, why are we learning it? Why am I teaching it? And why do you have to sit through my class for it? Okay. And most importantly, if you guys don't know, this is a picture of 9/11. 9/11. This happened when I was only around 6 years old. So you guys were definitely not born by then. Now, before 9/11, it was traveling was easier. Yes, there was a war all around the world, but there wasn't that many, let's say, insecurity within the U.S. or you could say developed countries like in Europe or ourselves in the U.S. But after 9/11, things changed. Before you could say bye to your family members or your loved ones, right by the basically you could see them right as soon as they're going on the plane. Now you could only drop them off, and you could say bye to them through the first security check. Okay, so now we have to go through do full body scans, take off any metal, make they even have to take off her shoes. And the reason why they have to take off her shoes, this was actually after a couple years after 9/11, not right away, before we could keep our shoes on, but now we have to take our shoes off due to the fact that a man put explosives in his shoe. Okay, so little things like this could have changed everyone's perspective and everyone's policy on how to do things. So before we didn't really care about not taking off shoes right when we're going through security check through an airport. Now we do thanks to that man. So one man impacted a whole global policy that we have to take off our shoes. Okay. So I'm trying to be gross here, but there was another instance where a man actually had explosive on his underwear. All right. Thankfully, we don't have to take our underwear. We just go through a full body scan and then make sure that we don't have anything that we're not supposed to. So specifically explosives, but even drugs or other sorts of weapons. Now again, little things like this could change the course of history, such as the explosives, but also 9/11, which is a big event in politics and history, has changed the global political world since 2001. Okay. Now, history is what the story that adds meaning to the places, events, to the people, events, places, and images of our lives. which is more interesting? So this is supposed to be of pictures. So this is supposed to be just basically a letter. On our birthday, a child blew out some candles. So just one sentence, I mean. This is supposed to be a picture, and this is supposed to be a video. So for you guys, the most interesting would be a video, correct? Because you guys have more of a relation. It's basically live, and that you guys can have more of a connection. I give the all the other classes an example saying that uh, basically that's why we want to do ed puzzles, all right? So you guys can relate to it more. Because if you read that a kid, if a kid crashed his bike into a mailbox and scraped his knee, you'll be like, oh, that hurts. But if you actually saw it, let's say a video, you will feel, you will be more, you will feel more sad and more hurt for the kid. Okay, so you're like, oh, I remember that happened to me. So you're able to relate more when you're able to see images or specifically even clips. Okay, so that's why I'm gonna do a lot of ed puzzles. Okay. Now, what is history about? History is about you and me and your grandma and also your dog. And yes, you're even your dog. Just think about my case. I have a German Shepherd. So he looks like a wolf. By that, he looks white like a wolf and he's kind of big. Now back in history, back in time, we were not able to have dogs. They weren't domesticated. Why? They were considered wild animals, and they would attack humans and even kill them at times. Okay, so over time, people started to domesticate them. If they didn't start to domesticate them, I wouldn't be able to have my dog right now, and that would be probably the case of your dog. Okay, so history is about everyone, and it impacts everyone. 3 reasons to love history. If you don't know history or you don't know your world or your culture, so it's important to you guys to know your culture and your history. I know it's for some of you guys it's really hard to understand that, but it's important for you guys to know that just so you know where you come from, just so you have a better understanding of yourself. This I told all the other classes, but for sixth grade I actually studied the sixth grade in Mexico, and it was actually the my parents' hometown. I was able to understand them a little bit better as to how they grew up, where they came from, and just basically how they just did everyday life. So it's better, and we had a better connection with that due to that. Now, history is story time all the time. There's always going to be more history, okay? There's always going to be, history is progressing. Right now, this is a historic moment right now. This is a pandemic. This is a very historic moment, okay? So, uh, back when we did this lecture, which was Monday and Tuesday, we did not know that Camilla Harris was going to be the person to run with Joe Biden. Now that is history in the making. If she wins, she will be the first vice president to be a woman, to be black, to be Indian, and to be of Jamaican descent. Okay, so that is history in the making, and this is during an election that's during quarantine. So that's why we say history is story time all the time because the story is still continuing on. Okay, history is who we are, who we will. I don't know who we are, who we were, who we are, and who we will be, okay? So who we were, it's basically who we were as a society, who we were as a people, your culture, who we are, how do we come to be now, and how and who we will be, how we will be in the future for future generations. So this is supposed to be a clip from a Lion King, but unfortunately we can't show it. But this is a quote. So it's a quote from Lion King from Rafiki the monkey. You see, the past can hurt, but as I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. So that's a very important quote. So you can either run from it. Basically, you could either ignore your mistakes, ignore society's mistakes. You could either uh, pretend it never happened, or you could either just you basically don't try to fix it. You just keep it the same. And from learn from it, you could either progress from it, learn from your mistakes, try to not make those same mistakes again, or try to learn from previous generations and try to progress our society. Okay? So you can skip this, we'll skip this. Sadly, most people do run from it, especially young people. We say that because young people tend not to listen to the advice that adults give you guys. The reason why we give you guys advice is because we have gone through similar experiences, or we know people that have gone through similar experiences, and we do not want you guys to repeat the same mistakes. So when we tell you guys a certain advice, it's because we want the best for you. Okay. this clip doesn't work either. Now, history can be fun, okay? I'm gonna try my best to make it fun. Hollywood loves history. So Hollywood does love history. This movie is Apocalypto. This is basically the Aztec culture, and basically towards the end of the movie, spoiler alert, the Aztecs come and basically are about to conquer them. But this is just shows you how the culture was in the Aztecs. This is Lincoln, basically a biopic of Abraham Lincoln, one of our greatest presidents. This one is 12 Years a Slave, a movie about how slavery was still in the after the Civil War, before and after. And this is Pompeii. Basically, this is a city in Italy right next to a volcano that was basically burnt to ashes. And you can even still see some of the you could say fossils and ashes of certain people today if we were able to go. Now, what if you don't like movies? You only like video games? Well, video games love history too. So this is Uncharted 2, but there's four Uncharted games. This basically has a lot of history involved in it, specifically with Sir Francis Drake. Okay, this is Son of Rome, so that's basically games of Rome. Here's one of the Japanese samurai. Here's one of the Civil War. Uh, there's a lot of games. Okay, specifically, let's say even there's a World War II game with the Call of Duty, Battlefield 2, another World War II game. There's also the Assassin's Creed games, which go all over the world about world history. So there is a lot of history involved in games. Okay. Now also there is a lot in TV. Now what other subject has its own channel? Only the History Channel. There isn't a Math Channel. There isn't an ELA channel. However, there you could say there is a Science Channel if you talk about the Discovery Channel. It is also included in cartoons a lot. Okay, there's a lot of historical references in cartoons. This is a joke from The Simpsons from the grandpa. When I was a pup, we got spanked by presidents till the cows came home. This is just a figuratively, not really. Okay. Grover Cleveland, who was our president, spanked me on two non-consecutive occasions. So most of you guys would not know this joke if you guys didn't know the history about Grover Cleveland or history of our U.S. presidents. Okay. This explains the joke. So there's two jokes here. First, Grover Cleveland was a president in 1885. There's no way Grandpa was alive then, right? He was definitely not alive then. He's just basically making up. He's making up a lie. The second part of the joke is that Cleveland is the only president ever to be elected twice, but not in a row. He is our 22nd and our 24th president. So that's basically kind of the joke. Not two non-consecutive occasions. So some of you guys will get these certain references to history, if you guys know your history. Okay. So this is just a timeline. You could just look at this if you specifically want, but I'm going to give you guys a more thorough timeline. And also, there's no other subject that you can change so easily. So by that we mean that if we believe a certain event happened like this, now we are able to find out that through to other evidence we could have discovered, oh, it didn't actually happen like this. We have to change the history books now. But it doesn't happen just with one piece of evidence. It has to happen with many pieces of evidence, or let's say even like history books now. So there's always updated history books. So back when I was in high school, back in 2014, when I graduated, President Barack Obama was the current president, and the history book still did not have his presidency because it was still current. Now, if I graduate 2019, 2020, the history books will now include President Obama, but they will not have President Trump yet, just because his term isn't over yet, and also because they're schools always get textbooks once in a while. So that's why we mean that history can change. It's easily to change because it's still progressing. We're still finding out more about what happened in our society's past. So that's basically a recap of what we did. And again, we're coming back to this. The video link, it's already on. It's already here. What is history for you? And you could just go ahead and do it. And you could just answer those two questions with it. And that was it for those 2 days. That's all we did.